I'm Barb, Maple PhD. I'm a gamer and an astronomer, which means I see the universe in everything that I do, including board games. In this series, I am looking at the board game mechanisms as listed on Board Game Geek and seeing where they remind me of the universe and the way that we study it. This time, I'm looking at the mechanism of cube tower. A cube tower in a game is a way to resolve actions by dropping cubes into a tower and seeing which ones come out and where they land. A couple of games in my collection that feature cube towers include The Loop. Now, this is a cooperative game where players are battling Dr. Foe as he is traveling through various eras of time and dropping his duplicates. And he has a machine, which is at the center of the board. And each round, you are going to drop some rifts into the machine, which represent bad things that happen to the timeline. And as you drop them in, the cube tower is going to determine where they go. And of course, they always go to the era that you absolutely don't want them to go because it causes bad things. Another game in my collection that features a cube tower is The Spill. In this game, you are trying to clean up after an oil spill and save the wildlife. At the center of the board, there is a cube tower, which is the oil rig that is spewing out oil. Each round during the, when bad things happen part of the round, you are going to throw some dice into this cube tower. And not only does the position where they land matter, but also the number that they land on. They're going to have one of 4 quadrants where they can end up. And then the number on there tells you which part of that quadrant that the die has to go. And so in this one, it's not just the cube part, but it is a dice tower as well. Now in astronomy, cube towers had me thinking about pair production telescopes. Bear with me. Pair production telescopes are a special kind of telescope that were developed in order to observe gamma ray light. Gamma rays are the most energetic form of light. And because of this, they can't be focused in the same way that normal light, the type that our eyes see, or even X-ray light can be focused. Which means you can't just use a regular telescope, have light come in, bounce off of mirrors, and then detect it. You have to come up with different methods in order to collect those gamma rays and figure out what part of the sky they come from. This is where these pair production telescopes come in. This is one method. There are several others, but pair production telescopes are one of them. Now, in this kind of telescope, you have layers of materials that gamma rays can interact with, and then between those, you've got layers of detectors. And what happens is a gamma ray will come into the telescope, and it might, some of them go straight through, but it might, come into one of those layers, interact with it, which means that it's going to kick off an electron and a positron. That electron and positron keep traveling through the telescope, and they'll get to that next layer of stuff, and they will interact with that, creating another couple of pairs of electrons and positrons. And that's going to keep happening in all of these alternating layers of stuff. And you're going to get this cascade of electrons and positrons through the telescope. That's what the pair production part is. An electron and positron are called a pair. What you can do, if you are super clever, I have not done this, but I know people who do, who work on these kinds of telescopes, you can reconstruct the path of all of those different particles through the detector, because there's the layer of stuff that they interact with, and then a layer of detector, and then stuff they interact with in the detector. And as these particles pass through the detector, you'll get a little a ping, basically, that says, this is where that pair was, this is where that pair was. And so by tracing that backwards through the telescope, you can figure out what direction the initial gamma ray came from. The other thing you can do is at the bottom of the telescope, you also can collect the final products of all of these cascades, tally up how much energy there is, and figure out the wavelength of that gamma ray that came in. This is super clever. It's not what you normally think of when you think of a telescope, but it is a very clever way to figure out, to observe the cosmos in this very energetic light and help us understand even more about the objects that are out there. So the next time you're playing a game with a cube tower, pretend for a minute that those cubes that you're putting in there are getting turned into electrons and positrons as they move their way through the tower. That's it for this time. I will continue this random walk through the board game mechanisms on Board Game Geek, and so be sure to like and subscribe to my channel so you know when the next one comes out. In the meantime, you can follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky as MeeplePhD. I have a blog at meeplephd.com, and I will see you next time.